If you've been practicing countless hours and not getting the results that you wanted, in today's video I'm going to share some practice secrets with you so that you can maximize your practicing and get the results that you wanted. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how when people are practicing, they tend to practice everything too fast. They want to get it right away and they don't want to slow anything down. Most professional musicians, when they start out playing some kind of passage or something they feel is difficult, they're going to practice super slow. Super slow. And they're going to do that over and over until they master that particular passage. Once they get those measures down and they feel like they have it mastered, then they're going to start to slowly increase that tempo. So maybe they set their metronome on 50 beats per minute, maybe 60 beats per minute, and once they have that passage mastered at that speed, then they start to increase it by maybe 10 points. They might go up to 70, and after they master it at that, then 80, and that process just continues. A metronome is important in your practicing too because it can help you to keep a steady beat and it can help you to get to the point where you internalize the pulse. There's many free apps out there. I tend to use one called Metronome. It's free, does the job, and why wouldn't you go for something that's free? The next thing that people tend to do is they try to practice the particular song or exercise all at one time. And that's wrong. You want to try to take small chunks, places you're having trouble with, and practice those. How small are we talking about? Well, it could be as small as 4 notes. And you want to play those over and over again. Use your metronome. Start slow, really slow, master it at that speed, and then gradually build up that speed. Professional musicians all end up practicing hard, difficult parts over and over and over again. And that's repetition. So you want to practice the spots that you're having trouble with over and over again. And if you start out slow and you use that metronome, you're going to end up practicing a passage many times before you get it up to the speed that you want. I know in my own personal practicing, if I have a hard passage, I may start that at 60. I may play that at 60 maybe 4 or 5 times, and then I have that mastered. Then I jump up to 70 beats per minute, and I'll do that till it's mastered. By the time I get up to 120 beats per minute, I may have played that passage 30 to 50 times. So that's how you end up mastering something that's kind of difficult. Another thing that you want to do to help you to maximize your gains in your practicing is listening to professional musicians or watching other professional musicians, just so that you have an idea of how it's done. We call this modeling. I know there's lots of people that I listen to. There's people on YouTube. There's people I listen to on iTunes. And, I'll hear an idea and I'll go, wow, I never even thought of that. So, they can help you improve your tone as well as technique if you're watching a video. Something that people forget is the ultimate goal here is to have fun and to be creative. So every once in a while you have to put those scales aside and you have to play something fun. I know for me, I like to play some pop songs or some jazz songs, or just sit and put on a backing track and just play whatever I feel like playing. Remember, it still has to be fun. So a lot of people have heard the myth about the 10,000 hour rule. They know that if you put in 10,000 hours, hey, you get to be a professional musician or whatever it is that you're practicing. It could be math or a sport. It doesn't matter. That 10,000 hour myth. And what that is if you put in your 10,000 hours, then you're a professional at whatever that is that you've been practicing. And I'm here to tell you that yes, there is some truth in the fact that you have to put time in and you have to practice, but just putting that time in won't make you a professional musician. What will make you a professional is if you have time that you're putting in that is super focused and super intentional. So what do I mean by that? Well, you go into that practice session and you have some goals in mind on what you're going to achieve. And most professionals have one goal, and everything they do in that practice session revolves right around that particular goal. And at the end of that practice session, if they've achieved that goal, then they've moved one more step towards mastery. So it's that intentional, goal-oriented, focused practicing that ends up in combination with the time put in, making someone a professional. All of these tips are great and they are going to help you. But there's something that's really, really important. There was a book that came out many years ago by Carol Dweck, and it was called The Growth Mindset. And what we do in music is super special and super different from everything else. We fail so many times when we're practicing. That's why we practice, so that we don't fail. So over and over again, we go and we practice something and we fail at it. But through those failures, we get better. And eventually we do succeed. So we have to have that growth-oriented mindset, that open mindset, that mindset that tells us, you know what, I understand I'm having trouble with this today. This is really difficult, but I know that if I keep at it, down the road I'm going to get this and I'm going to be successful. So no matter what you're practicing or what you're working on, keep that kind of thought in your head. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So it takes lots and lots of time. And I know in my own life, it took me a very, very long time to understand that. I always felt like when I played, everybody would look at me and they would just think all these bad things. Man, he doesn't play well. He isn't very good. Doesn't even practice. And it took me the longest time to realize that, professional musicians or musicians who are good at all, they're never thinking those things. Even people who might be in your own band, they're not thinking those things about you. You're on the same team, and they want you to be as good as you can be, and then that makes the whole group the best that it can be. So just have a positive attitude, have a growth mindset. Remember all those things that I mentioned on the practice tips. Practice everything super slow. Use a metronome. Gradually increase the speed. Practice things in small chunks. It could be as small as 2 notes, 4 notes. Do things over and over again. Remember, it's that focused, intentional practicing that makes all the difference. And make sure you're listening to some professionals and watching some professionals. It will make a difference. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button below and the notification bell. That way you know when my new videos are coming out. And I want to thank you and make sure you subscribe to the channel.